Today's thrilling episode is brought to you by the Cartridge Crusaders, where brain cells go to die. I'm Veras Connolly, and you're watching a bit trip down memory lane, past adventures of Rhythm Alien. Hello, one and all, and welcome back to the Veras Connolly channel. Today we are going to be looking at a very special game series that I fell in love with at a very young age. For those who don't know, Bit.Trip Runner is a 2D scrolling platform puzzle game where you play as one Commander Video, where you run through levels that are gauntlets of obstacles, all while collecting gold and plush-shaped objects to reach the end of the level. I had no idea Commander Video even existed up until I played Super Meat Boy. I was really big into the indie scene back in like 2013 when a lot of those games came out, and I was really excited to kind of find out the origins of Commander Video, because I always thought he was an interesting character and I never really understood who he was or why he was there. When I actually found out where he was from and I played his game, I was more hooked on that than the game I found him out from. Up until this point in my life, I've only ever played Runner 2 and 3, and I thought it was kind of a disservice to say that this is like one of my favorite game franchises without at least playing the other games. So today we're rectifying that. So without further ado, here's the first game that started off the Runner series. And here it is. Bit.Trip Runner. I never played the original game before, so this will be interesting to see where the roots of Commander Video were. I do have to clarify, though, that this is not the first game that Commander Video is a part of, and it's not even the first game in the Bit.Trip series either. That honor goes to a game called Bit.Trip Beat, which apparently is just glorified Pong. The title screen of this game is pretty cool and has that classic tune that I'm used to from Runner 2. But I guess that would be from this game instead of Runner 2. Playing games out of order is weird. So this game basically runs off of the idea of having 8-bit graphics in a 3D space, with a mix of 8-bit music and full-on orchestral sounds. It's honestly fucking beautiful. The game is a simple auto-runner 2D platformer where you have to avoid obstacles and collect gold and weird plush-shaped objects that not only increase your score, but also change your trail effect and change the music in the background as well. While this game isn't a rhythm game inherently, there is a beat and style to the platforming that ties into the music, so as you're playing, it kind of feels like you're writing the song as you're platforming, and it really makes the experience super surreal. Not to mention, the platforming does follow quite a heavy pattern and rhythm to it, and because the game is not like super strict on like timing it like exactly correct, it makes for a more relaxed experience, and it kind of takes off the edge of it being more of like a rage game, and it also makes it feel more like a rhythm game and like you're kind of playing along to the music, and it all just ties together really, really nicely. There's even challenge levels that you can access if you collect all of the gold in a level, and it makes you feel like you're playing an NES game. It's honestly pretty neat, but it's also called a challenge level for a reason, because it's fucking difficult. However, there is this weird static effect thing that's going on here, but only on like half the screen. I don't know if it's like a glitch and it's supposed to be taking up the entire screen, or if it's not even supposed to be there at all, but tied in with the fact that there's no music makes this ominous as hell. Are you looking for a challenge? One thing that might start to drive you batty in this game is if you get hit once, you get sent all the way back to the beginning. There are no checkpoints in this game, so you have one chance to get through the level. However, because the levels are somewhat short, even if you get sent all the way back to the beginning, it's not so bad to get back to where you were. And because it follows a rhythm, it feels satisfying to go back to those old parts that you died at and feel like you can get through it no problem now that you've learned the area. You'll start to learn more moves as the game goes on. It'll increase the difficulty of the levels as well. Nothing crazy though, I mean, you learn how to duck and kick, but it feels natural and has a great difficulty curve, especially for new players. And even experienced players who want to come back to this game could blast through the early levels, seeing as they're short and they don't really feel too taxing to replay. My only complaint so far in this game is that it doesn't let you use the joystick, only the D-pad. It's a bit of a small adjustment, so it's not really an inherent problem, just more of a minor annoyance. One thing I also loved around this time is whenever somebody made an indie game, it was always popular enough where other indie games would start referencing it as well. Like at this part, where I missed a gold bar, so I offed myself intentionally, it got sent all the way back, and I got this achievement that said everybody's played Braid. And I honestly just thought that that was a really cute nod to the game. As much as this game throws at you sometimes, it will always tell you what you have to do. Like there are these little blocks right here that are bouncing around, right? Seemingly have no pattern whatsoever, and it feels like guesswork. But the blocks are color-coded. So depending on what color the block is will depend on what you need to do. If it's red, you go overhead. If it's purple, slide the hurdle. The hardest part of this game is honestly just the memorization and making sure you know all the controls so that when you see something, you can react to it. But honestly, it just becomes muscle memory and second nature after a certain point. I unfortunately process things very slow and I need to do things one at a time. But this game acts as almost like a boot camp for people who have that issue, and it kind of trained me to think faster, and I think that that's kind of beautiful in a way. Now, the game does get more difficult later on. The first level you will notice this in is level 111. I started to get a little frustrated simply because the level was pretty long, a little bit longer than the others, and you have to remember there are no checkpoints, so every time you die, you get sent all the way back to the beginning. And although it took me more than a few tries to get right, once you learn the pattern, it all flows together pretty well. This game requires a level of patience that you need to play it. It encourages you not to plan too far ahead, because if you try to plan too far ahead, you're going to run into the obstacle that's right in front of you and die. So this game encourages you to just relax, breathe, watch the incoming obstacles, and follow your own rhythm. I also found out that LT and B are the 5-year-old on a piano button. Now it's time for a boss level, and honestly, fuck this guy. The boss level takes the philosophy of the regular levels, but turns it into a guessing game of timing and obstacles, and kind of spits in the face of the entire message of the intended game design. While I think it is a very cool idea to have a rhythm-based boss, it makes it a lot more difficult to fight an enemy when you are stuck to a certain rhythm, and when you can't predict the objects that are coming at you in front of you, which you've gotten so used to doing in all of the past levels, and now all of a sudden it's kind of requiring you to guess. And yes, it will repeat its moves every time you die, but you know, if you have object permanent issues and you forget what it sent out before, and you're trying to memorize and remember what rock or what crystal you need to jump over or kick into, and you can't see it to remember it, it becomes a little frustrating. One other small thing that's a bit of an issue with this game is how violently colorful it is, which kind of makes it a bit of an eyesore when you're trying to run through timing-based levels and you're trying to focus on everything. The style is amazing, don't get me wrong, but fuck is this game hard to look at for longer than an hour. Don't get me wrong though, Bit.Trip Runner is still a certified classic and a very, very good game, and I still highly recommend it that you play it. Even with some of those little negatives that I sprinkled in, it's still a really, really, really good game. And now with the first game out of the way, let's head in to the sequel, which should be twice as fun. It's good to be home. I originally played Runner 2 back on the Xbox Live Arcade when this came out back in 2013, and the mix of vector-based 2D animation and the 3D obscurist visuals all flow together perfectly. Also, Charles Martinet is here.
I'm Charles Martinet.
So apparently we're trapped in a Twilight Zone dimension where everything is weird and crazy, which is totally unlike the world of the last game, and we have to find a way out. Oh, excuse me. Hey, do you know where to... Okay. Along with Commander Video, we also have a whole slew of new characters joining us, including a bunch of characters from other game titles, like Atlas from Portal 2, Quote from Cave Story, and my personal favorite in this roster, Rasputin from Psychonauts, and so many more. All of the cutscenes are animated in a vector-like style and narrated by Charles Martinet, and it's honestly a lot of fun. And the visuals in the gameplay are absolutely gorgeous. It is a hell of a glow up from the first game. Oh, look, checkpoints. Oh, thank God. Fun fact, you can actually skip the checkpoints if you want to, and it'll even give you a bonus if you do. Finally, a wonderful gift from the gods, optional checkpoints. You can either maintain the integrity of the original game, or you can use the checkpoints to make it a little bit easier in this game, and it just makes the experience that much better for old and new players. And is that a canon? One of the best parts of this game, hands down, has got to be just the weird visuals in the background. I mean, look at this guy. What's he doing? What's he doing back there? All fancy and shit. By the way, bonus levels are back. If you can find the Famicom cart hidden in the levels, you can warp to a bonus level for extra gold. You can also find treasure chests to unlock more costumes for characters within levels, which is a great exploration incentive, especially since I am a sucker for customization. You can also find keys to access hidden areas in levels, but only if you beat the key vault levels first, which will then usually lead to a treasure chest. Bosses are back, and thankfully, I can say that this time, there are not only checkpoints, but they also restructured the boss fights to fit the theme of the gameplay a little better. I still personally think that it is the weakest part of the game, but it is not nearly as bad as it was in the first game. And again, it wasn't bad in the first game, it just went from being okay to good. Other than adding a few more mechanics like tracing your character in this circle mechanism, blocking, and dancing, this game is just a beefed up version of the original. And apart from the often crude humor that this game has, the style and writing have such a huge charm to it that you'll be enveloped in it and forget that time exists. God, I love video games. What fucking year is it? If you thought the first game was smooth, this one is even smoother and feels even more satisfying and rewarding to play. Script aside here, this is seriously one of my favorite games of all time. It is incredibly well made, and I highly, highly recommend that you start with Runner 2 if you want to get into the Runner series. It's fantastic for beginners. It's an all-around really funny and well-made game, and the experience is just so crazy and interesting that I guarantee that you will walk away super satisfied with your experience and wanting to play a lot more from the Runner series like I did. But we need to move into the next game. You all remember me, it is I, the great sage Kakomotor. And today we need to prep you to head into the threequel of the Runner series. So allow me to give you a third leg. One, two. Did my spell not work? That's not a leg. And now for the third game none of us knew we needed. Runner 3. Bold choice to drop the Bit.Trip part of the name, but I guess for marketing it is easier just to say Runner 3. As we are booting into the game, we are given a cruel reminder on the title screen.
I'm Charles Martinet, and guess what? You're not.
Alright, well fucking wahoo to you too then, dick. Interesting. This is a fun character select screen. I like that. It's a little barbecue scene. Let's shift over to our map screen, and yeah, this is definitely a Runner game. It's a lot more 3D now than it was before, which is, you know, that's kind of cool, but I don't know, something kind of feels off. I actually got a little confused because when the game started up, it told me that Choice Provisions made this game instead of the normal Gaijin Games, till I realized it's the same company, they just rebranded. But if that's the case, then why does the style feel so off? The graphics look kind of thrown together and the music is still absolutely bustin'. Well, sometimes. We don't even collect pluses in this game anymore. They're boom boxes, which, I mean, isn't a horrible change, but the abstract style and structured absurdism has been completely replaced with over-the-top, goofy, and gross-out humor, and it's just kind of meh. The moveset is pretty much the same, except now they have a double jump and a ground pound, and vehicle segments, but there really isn't a challenge to the game anymore. In fact, the devs actually intentionally made it easier so it wouldn't feel like a rage game, but that kind of completely defeats the point of the original game entirely. Sure, it was hard, but it was never impossible. It was all pattern recognition. It's just boring. Not to mention the levels are all half blocked off because they want you to beat it once to unlock the additional paths. What? The last game had unlockable paths too, but not for every level, and it only blocked off because it was an extra treasure chest over there or a costume or something that you'd go back for. Gatekeeping the level design for the sake of gatekeeping the level design is bad level design. I guess sometimes there are these like puppet things in those additional areas, but I honestly don't even know what the hell they do. So apparently you can unlock more characters, but you unlock them by doing hero quests and collecting a bunch of stuff in different levels, and then bringing it back to the people that assigned it to you in the first place, which completely kills the pacing of the game. Speaking of pacing killing, what the fuck is this? I love game design. Oh, a boss where I'm not running. Cool. And there's 3 phases where he has 3 hit points each phase where I have to hit him with a sausage tank car? Give me a break. Come on, guys. The other games at least made me feel motivated to continue. Like, dang, hang on. Give me one more try. I can do this. But this game just makes me feel like, oh, good. Now I get to do that again. I'm just super underwhelmed, honestly. Like, the first and second game had so much promise and challenge, even in the first world. But this third game just, I don't know, just kind of leaves me expecting that it had more. I'm sorry, Runner 3. I really did try to like you, but you're kind of just a shell of what you used to be. All right, one more game to go. Oh my God, we're so back. So apparently this is supposed to be a remake of the first game, but you can also make your own levels. Oh my God, he's 3D pixel art. Oh, and the music is back. Oh, and there's checkpoints now. Oh my God, thank the Lord. He's so expressive, and the obscure style is back. Yes, this is exactly what we needed back. This game took every single problem I had with the very first game and was like, hey, threw him out the window. We just came back swinging, and it's beautiful. There's also a bunch of unlockables and so many extras to explore, but that's just the base game. The Runner Maker is the real selling point here, and I know it looks complex at first. I mean, my God, look at this. But each level is composed like music. That is such a creative fucking way to illustrate how a runner game is made.
I'm a game developer.
I am absolutely blown away. This was honestly amazing. God, way to turn it around, Rerunner. Great job. All right, and that takes us to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching this and for taking a bit trip down memory lane with me. This series honestly means a lot to me, and there's so much creative energy being poured into every one of these games, even Runner 3. And I think that there's so much to learn from these games, just as a developer and also just as a creative in general. And again, I know I ragged on Runner 3 a lot, but honestly, there was still a lot to that game that it did right. It was just missing a lot of those quality of life things that made the other games so much better. But honestly, I'm super excited for the future of this franchise. I honestly hope that they're preparing for another game, and if they do, you bet your ass I'm playing it. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one. Catch you later.